Welcome back. We start with breaking news for your morning commute. Another major disruption for BART. BART posted this earlier this morning on X, saying a computer equipment problem. That is what's preventing the start of service this morning. Of course, this was several hours ago, and they're advising anyone who uses BART to seek an alternate means of transportation. So people are scrambling for, means of getting to work or school this morning, or maybe just even to some important appointments, and travelers heading to airports. It is a Friday. Veronica Macias, good morning. And you're tracking down all of these disruptions. You've been at Walnut Creek throughout the morning since pretty much this started. And, how has it been for passengers, especially, trying to figure another way to get around the Bay Area today?
The biggest complaint I've heard from people this morning is we wish we had more of a heads up when it comes to this system-wide disruption with BART. So many people out here who are just at this point, look at this court. You have several people who are deciding, I'm just going to sit and wait this out. We don't have an estimated time right now for when the trains are going to be up and running with BART. But you have several BART workers, crew members who are out here letting people know what the best alternatives are for them, what other forms of transportation like AC transit. But still, like I said, you have several people who are sitting here and just on their phones and trying to figure out how long they're going to be able to wait here. And the biggest complaint from people this morning is saying, hey, we wish there was some sort of push notification on our phones, just letting us know, especially when it comes to those super commuters. We talked to one woman who was here all the way from Pittsburgh this morning. She was trying to make her way all the way to San Francisco University. She works as a computer programmer there and tells me, on Friday, it's actually her short day. Had she received an early enough notification from BART here, she probably would have stayed home today. So you have several situations like that. I think I have a woman over here who may be carrying, I think that's just an easier way for her to carry her work bag, not necessarily a suitcase, but we did have several people who showed up at the BART station this morning. A man who was trying to catch a flight to Hawaii. He was trying to be there by 9 a.m. and then looked to see if he could make it by catching an Uber. Immediately, he knew that was not going to happen. So I wish there was a way for us to have followed up with him to see if he even made it to that flight, because you know that several airlines these days will not give you that refund or make it any easier for you to rebook that flight. Another family who was out here trying to catch a flight to Japan together, they immediately hopped in the car. We're going to drive to SFO, but a lot of people just worried about all the congestion that will come as a result of this. A lot of people saying, we're showing up here to the BART station trying to get to work, but all of this has a ripple effect. We're going to now have to call our bosses who were expecting us to be at work today. So then that causing disruption within the workflow. So what exactly happened today with BART? We know that early this morning at about 4:30 a.m. at the operations center for the BART system, they realized that the computer network, the computer equipment would not start up for them because overnight they were carrying out the usual maintenance work for the network, and that caused the disruption in service today. But of course, people have seen scenes like this throughout the Bay Area before. It was back on May 9th that they had that system-wide disruption for BART, and several people had the same issue being late to work. And we know that that was a result of a power outage. And then, of course, weeks later, you had that fire at the San Leandro BART station that only affected the Green Line. So at this point, people showing some frustration that is mounting here when it comes to BART and their dependency on using it to get to work. BART also letting us know, that they, for the majority of the time, will get people to work. Super commuters can depend on it. And it's moments like this when they have to rebuild that trust. But for now, there's no estimated time on when these trains are going to be up and running. So for the remainder of the day, the best thing you can do if you're trying to get through a long commute is make other plans for transportation or plan on calling your boss and working from home today, Gianna.
Yeah, and Veronica, to that point, we do want to get to Lexi Matsu with SF Bay Ferry on the phone right now. Thank you for that live report, Veronica. We'll check back in with you in just a second. But, Veronica made a very good point right now. People are dealing with trying to figure out what to do next. And if you are going to take a bus or maybe other means of public transportation, we've been checking in on social media to make sure everything is on time with, say, the ferries or other buses or other trains to kind of help you navigate that. But, what Veronica just showed you is a scene playing out at every BART station here in the Bay Area right now. That's just what's happening in Walnut Creek. So Lexi Matsu with SF Bay Ferry joining us right now. And Lexi, thank you for being here. We know that there is other options. Are you seeing more crowded ferries this morning heading into San Francisco?
Yeah, good morning. We're definitely seeing some more people show up. Our average number on a Friday for some of our morning trips is around 30, 40 people on some of these boats, and we're seeing a little over 100, but that is well under capacity. So there's still room. They're not hitting capacity yet, but we're standing by. We'll be adding more service and higher capacity if we need to.
Lexi, for people who maybe don't typically take ferries into San Francisco, what is sort of the process? Do they need a Clipper card? How quickly is it that they can kind of make that adjustment? Because a lot of people running late for work and school this morning because of the BART delays or the BART's shutdown.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can board with your Clipper card or you can purchase tickets on our app. You can even pay cash on the boat. So lots of different ways to get your tickets. We have terminals in Oakland, 3 in Alameda, Richmond, and Vallejo, all going to downtown San Francisco. The ones from Oakland are running, we have one at 8:40, one at 9:05, one at 10:05, so they're running pretty frequently. It's only about a 25-minute journey across from Oakland into downtown, and there's free parking at all of our terminals except for Vallejo.
Okay, so I bet that's a relief to a lot of people right now to hear that maybe they'll save a little money on parking because they might have to kind of navigate what would cost differently for their trip to work or school this morning. Lexi, when things happen like this, do transit agencies sort of coordinate with each other? And maybe, we often hear when BART delays or issues happen, there are bus bridges in place. And a lot of people mentioning ferries as a very good option to head into San Francisco. Do you guys coordinate and communicate to sort of create a plan to help commuters?
Absolutely. We're in very close touch with BART and our regional partners at MTC. It's really important that all of us work together to get everyone across the bay.
Do you plan at all adding any extra ferries if this continues to be an issue throughout the day to maybe help other commuters head home?
Yeah, we will. We'll be monitoring to see how long this goes on, how closely our boats are reaching toward capacity, and if we need to, we'll be adding bigger boats, more service. Staff is standing by. Yeah, we're ready to increase as much as we need to.
All right. Well, that is probably a relief to a lot of people watching right now, kind of figuring out how they're going to navigate their commute to work this morning. Lexi Matsu from SF Bay Ferry, thank you so much for speaking with us this morning. And of course, we continue to follow breaking news this morning. BART is down system-wide due to a computer networking issue. Alternates, buses, other transit agencies. If you are planning on driving to work this morning, we're going to see some busier conditions on the roadways as well. Also hearing from Muni potential delays because a lot of their operators for their buses and trains typically use BART to get to work. So that could potentially cause some problems for them as well. I do know Caltrain and VTA are on time this morning, so that will certainly help anyone making those trips along the peninsula. Maybe you typically go to Berryessa BART and make that ride into the South Bay. VTA will be an option for that also. So something to think about as you head through there. We've seen rideshare as possibilities also, and we've actually heard stories of people kind of grouping together to maybe share the ride to work. So again, find an alternate means of transportation. We will continue to keep you updated on this. We will be back live in just a few minutes after this break. We want to get to breaking news right now. There is no BART service this morning because of a computer equipment problem. You are looking live right now over at the Walnut Creek BART station, and a lot of frustrated BART users this morning, and you see them sitting there with their phones in their hand, maybe sort of trying to figure out how to plan their day. You can see a bus rolling up right now. That is the county connection. So again, right now you're going to seek alternate means of transportation to get to work because of what's happening with BART. This is Walnut Creek, but this is playing out at several BART stations throughout the Bay Area. No word as to when things will get back on track. We are still waiting to hear from BART if there is some sort of timeline, if this is going to extend through the day. But in the meantime, use an alternate, use other transit agencies, or maybe drive to work. Now, if you plan on using Muni this morning, they are also facing potential delays due to the issues affecting BART. They posted this on X earlier this morning that some of their operators may be delayed because of the issues with BART this morning. So we are also keeping an eye on that to make sure that hopefully they will get up and running and on time too. So let's look at some options. We talked about buses. You can also use other transit agencies. If you're hopping on the freeways this morning, expect to see some busier conditions than usual. Rideshare is an option as well as those other transit agencies like Caltrain along the peninsula, Samtrans, you've got AC Transit, we saw County Connection rolling up to that Walnut Creek BART station there, and VTA is on time as well. And of course, many of you are sounding off on social media this morning. John Blocked by 4 says, maybe next time do your updates on a Sunday so it won't really disrupt people for the morning commute. Joe Higgins also saying, unbelievable. But again, we will continue to update you on this throughout the morning.
From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Morning Edition.
It is 8:29 on this Friday morning. I'm Gianna Franco. We want to get back to breaking news disrupting your morning commute. Another major issue for BART. Yet again, BART posting this on X this morning saying this computer equipment problem is preventing the start of service. That happened several hours ago, and they're advising commuters to use alternate means of transportation. So Veronica Macias has been tracking all of these disruptions throughout the morning and really there at Walnut Creek's BART station this morning, trying to kind of figure out and talk to people about what to do next. You know, Veronica, you and I covered this story all the way back in May, and we're sort of seeing the same thing play out again. People getting on their phones and, you know, trying to get that information and figure out how to get to work this morning.
It's happening again. And the biggest thing I've heard is, gosh, we wish we would have more of a heads up here when it comes to BART and their service disruption. So many people just wishing they had maybe gotten that notification a little earlier. Maybe they wouldn't have left the house and made plans from home rather than sitting out here. You have a couple of people sitting at this BART station in Walnut Creek deciding to wait to see when the trains are going to be up and running. At this point, though, there is no estimated time for when that is going to happen. So many people that we've talked to this morning having different situations, people who are on their way to work, several people who were on their way to SFO this morning. So it kind of makes you question, you know, if you have a flight to catch and you are trying to get to the airport, you would think that the best and the easiest, most convenient way to get there would be to take the BART. But of course, after having a situation like this morning and it being a repeat of what we saw in May, a lot of people questioning whether they should rely on this form of public transportation to get to the airport moving forward. So of course, what exactly is going on today? We talked about that disruption that happened back in May, but today BART officials who are here telling us that this was a system network maintenance upgrades that they were doing to the computers. And then when crews at the operations center went to turn things on, there was a computer equipment problem. So people are questioning, you know, what's going on there. Would that necessarily be carried out on a weekday versus the weekend? Maybe that's better to plan out in advance or going forward. And we also know that BART tells us, you know, for the majority of the time, we are reliable. Take a listen to what the spokesperson had to tell us earlier this morning.
Liability is our brand and it has to be there. So we absolutely understand that. For the most part, BART operates well every day. We just got new on-time performance numbers and they were 94%. But when things like this happen, of course, it ruins that relationship we have with our riders and we have to rebuild that trust. As soon as we get this service back up and running, we'll let people know so they know they don't have to use their cars today.
But of course, we're also hearing from so many passengers, super commuters. One woman who travels all the way from Pittsburgh into San Francisco every day. She works as a computer engineer, programmer of some sort. And today she could have probably just decided to take the day. It was her short day, she tells us. So again, the biggest issue for her is the way that there is a lack of communication, in her words, when it comes to BART and the dependency here. Take a listen.
My job depends on me to be there. And I, was fully willing to get to work, even though today is one of my short days. I'm a super commuter and I depend on BART to get me to work in a reliable fashion, and that's not always the case. This is the second time this has happened that I know of, and for them to maybe even have known about this for the last half hour, they should have established bus bridges. They should have thought of other ways of communicating to commuters that this was happening, so that we can make other arrangements.
So really here, what we're hearing from commuters this morning is that this really has a ripple effect. It's the employers who are depending on the workers to be there, and they can't if they can't depend on BART. But BART again saying this isn't your everyday situation. But so many people we've heard from, Gianna, just, expressing their frustrations. One woman saying, I've been out for 2 days with an ear infection and I was supposed to return to work today. And now I have to explain this to my boss that I won't be able to be there. And others expressing maybe the concern here with not being paid for the day because they're not there and depending that for their budgets and their paychecks. So a lot of frustration growing here, but also we have seen some people coming together, deciding to take the Ubers together, the rideshare. One woman who was out here earlier today had been through the situation back in May, and she decided that she was going to get a group of ladies together to get, I believe they were going to Richmond, if I'm not mistaken. So she gathered a group of people together to take that ride share, because we have seen that when the system is down with BART, there are no trains running. Those prices with Uber and the ride shares, they seem to creep up a little here. So it's nice to see how some people have formed community at the BART stations across the Bay Area this morning when you have a difficult situation on this Friday morning.
Yeah, that is one positive for sure. And it is nice to hear that they're sort of rallying together to make a bad situation a little bit better. Veronica, just a couple minutes ago in your other live shot, we saw a bus travel through there from County Connection. Are you seeing more other transit agencies like County Connection or, travel through there more often or periodically to see if they can help commuters? Or was that just maybe one or two?
We're going to pan that way periodically, and you do have some BART workers who are out here wearing the blue shirts, trying to get people, giving them some direction on what buses they have to take. And we are being told that everything is completely free. I believe when it comes to the buses here, there is no form of compensation, though, for individuals who we spoke with this morning and complained about the flights that they were going to miss this morning, but there is no charge when it comes to the buses out here. We have been hearing BART officials telling people that the best thing they can do right now is turn to AC Transit. And again, no expected time when BART is going to be up and running. So still a lot of concerns for people who are, going to make that commute later today and figuring out what they're going to be doing. So a lot of people having the patience out here and just kind of sitting and waiting. And I'm sure that's happening at BART stations all across the Bay right now.
Yeah, and I know, Veronica, you mentioned too that a lot of people were frustrated because they didn't get a notification on their phone or an alert before they headed to the BART station this morning. Are there anything going over the loudspeakers periodically? Sometimes we hear that. I haven't heard anything, or just giving some sort of an update, or is it just pretty much status quo? You check in with a BART agent and they give you whatever they know, which is basically it's system-wide is shut down.
Yeah, no, there's been nothing coming on over the speakers for people to hear, but for the most part, they have been putting some of the workers at the garage area, at the entrances, like down the row here, you have a woman in a blue jacket. So they are trying to reach people before they even get to the entrance of the BART station and turning them around, letting them know that there is no service today. So yeah, earlier today, you did have, the larger crowd showing up and sort of rolling in here and figuring out, like, what am I going to do next? This isn't what I was expecting on this Friday morning. And it can be such a big headache when it's no notification ahead of time. So yeah, maybe after today's disruption with BART, there will be conversations on how people can get that like a push alert letting you know that the system is down. Because this morning I have the BART app on my phone. I didn't receive one. It's only when you click on the app that you see that there's a disruption in service, that all lines are down.
All right. Well, Veronica, thank you for some great reporting this morning. We appreciate you talking to people and getting that community conversation too. It's so very important to hear what they're actually going through. We'll check in with you in just a little bit. Hopefully we'll start seeing some progress here. But in the meantime, SFMTA also posted this on X this morning. This is a bit of an update. Right now, what they're saying at this time, impacts to Muni services are minimal, which is great news here. We will provide any updates on any impacted routes as we receive them. Also very important to note, mutual aid is being provided between Embarcadero and Balboa Park via Muni Metro service. And that is something Veronica touched on too, with some of these bus services offering mutual aid to BART commuters to maybe have an alternate. I do want to show you what the freeways are looking like right now as we kind of check on your morning commute there. And look at how busy it is for a Friday. We always talk about Friday light, and that's the hope as you navigate right before the weekend. But more cars on the roadway, likely due to the BART disruption. A lot of people using, jumping in their cars instead. So you're going to see busier conditions on some of our Bay Area bridges and freeways. And of course, your alternates to get to work or school. Just a reminder, you can use buses, you can hop on the freeways. You've got rideshare opportunities. Be mindful of maybe some higher pricing there. Other transit agencies are also jumping in to assist BART, having that kind of connection there. We've heard people heading over towards the ferries to maybe get to San Francisco, and also AC Transit offers those buses over into the city as well. That's out of the East Bay. If you're coming along the peninsula, Caltrain is a great option. Also, Samtrans is a good option as well. And just, being mindful as more people use alternates, you might see more crowded trains and buses for other transit agencies. So we're keeping an eye on that. We do know Caltrain is on time. VTA commuters out of the South Bay, really not too affected by the BART disruption, unless you're dealing with the Berryessa station, since that reaches that area closer to the South Bay. And that is a connector for many people traveling in and out of the South Bay, especially from those areas just east of there or north of there. So keep that in mind as well. But again, busier conditions on the freeways for a Friday, likely due to an uptick in cars, just more people, more volume out there on the roadways. We are hearing from you as well as we get on social media this morning. A lot of reaction. This is JRAP posted this. Terrible and unreliable. So very frustrated. Just last Friday night before Labor Day weekend, fire on the Transbay Tube caused 3 hours. So it took a 3-hour delay to get him home. That's a bit troublesome. Also, Jose says, wow, there's always something. We also heard on social media from Lance Wong, who posted this. You have proven your operation once again incompetent, unreliable, inefficient. This is too much. A lot of frustrated passengers there. Surge pricing is something we've been mindful of and trying to get more information on, especially for people using rideshare apps this morning as they try to navigate the Bay Area. Here's a bit of a perspective. So it is going to cost you about $95 there if you are going from the 19th Street Oakland BART station to San Francisco. That was the latest information we saw. Samtrans also posting on X as they try to help navigate people, around the Bay Area. If you need to get to SFO this morning, Samtrans routes EPX and 292 can get you there from Salesforce Transit Center in San Francisco. That might be very useful. So again, remember that. The 292 also connecting at the Caltrain station in Millbrae. That will help you get into the city. You can check your mapping systems too for the best connections. 511.org is a really good resource for that. And it is definitely a lot for a lot of people trying to navigate. And as Veronica mentioned, many people frustrated at the idea of not getting those alerts before they hopped in their car and maybe drove to the BART station. We did speak with someone from the SF Bay ferry service this morning who said that things are running on time for ferries heading across the bay. They do have free parking at some of their locations, so that might ease the pain a little bit for people starting, having to kind of plan accordingly and take a different route to work this morning. And they are mindful that, if they need to add any extra service or operators throughout the day, they do work together. Many of these transit agencies, when stuff happens with like BART, or Caltrain to sort of kind of jump in and help commuters, offering these bus bridges, offering that mutual aid like we heard from SFMTA earlier today. So again, no BART service this morning. This is due to a computer equipment issue. We have been seeing reaction on social media and of course many transit agencies working that information and getting that out there. Okay, so here is a live look outside. One of those days where maybe you just need to take a breath and look out the window and enjoy the view. Maybe you're going to work from home today because your commute has been disrupted. We will continue to follow this breaking news when we come back. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's 8:45 on a Friday as we get to this breaking news right now. BART, no service system-wide. They put out this tweet earlier this morning, or they put this out via X to say that there is a computer networking issue. Service never got started this morning, and people were headed to the BART station expecting to hop on a train and get to work in school like they would any other day for their morning commute. But those disruptions are now in place, and they are recommending that you seek alternate transportation. Veronica Macias out live this morning doing a great job tracking down this disruption, which is really affecting a lot of people. I mean, you're at the Walnut Creek BART station this morning, Veronica, but you know, this is happening at several BART stations, obviously, since it's a system-wide issue. And you've had a chance to talk to commuters, some of them very frustrated, mostly because they didn't receive the information before they headed to the station.
That's the biggest complaint we've been hearing about people. They just wish that they could have avoided coming to the BART station and maybe figured things out from home rather than sitting here and waiting for the trains to come back up again to start up. There is a BART official out here who I talked to just a moment ago. She's over here by the pillars, and she told me that expect to wait for the next hour or so. So there's the update from BART officials. So we will be waiting out here to see if that is the case, because once they do get those trains running, they have to test everything and make sure that everything is smooth and they can resume operations again. But we've been waiting for hours here for those trains. No service as of this morning. 4:30 a.m. is when the operations center realized there was going to be no service this morning, and there was going to be a repeat of what we saw in May with the complete system-wide disruption. Anthony here, you've been waiting. You're on your way trying to get to San Francisco.
Yeah. I came in the morning time. I didn't know about it. And then I went back home, and I came back and said, well, by now it should be fixed. No, we're still waiting.
We've talked about, you know, as a passenger who depends on BART, we talked about the fares. You said, hey, there's been increases, yes, but also it seems like more disruptions.
Well, BART isn't cheap. You think about New York, their subway, anywhere you want to go is like, what, $3? Here, it's a lot more than that, and it's consistently unreliable. I got a lot of complaints. The crazy people are on BART. We keep voting these jabronis to come in. They don't fix anything. It's frustrating. I'm frustrated. Yeah.
It seems like you don't want to put that dependency, especially on people who are trying to get to like the airport this morning, possibly missing a flight, right?
Yeah, imagine that. And all they can say is, oh, we're sorry for the inconvenience. Well, this happened a few months ago. It seems to be like we can almost expect it every few months for BART to mess up, which this is a mess.
Right. Yeah. Not good to have in the city of San Francisco.
We deserve better, I think, and why we don't have it.
Thank you for your time, and hopefully we do get you to work soon rather than later. But just like Anthony this morning, we had super commuters telling us, you know, I'm coming from Pittsburgh trying to get into San Francisco as well. My boss is expecting me, and really all of this has a ripple effect. You're not just seeing people sitting and waiting at the BART stations this morning. Scenes like this one playing out throughout the entire Bay Area, but it has multiple effects on people who are waiting for these people to get to work, and then that type of work they're doing that maybe needed to get done on this Friday. But again, the biggest complaint from people saying maybe if there's a change to be made with BART, it is that push notification, just giving people a little more heads up before they arrive and they find the signs out like this one saying there is no train service out here. But at this BART station, I can tell you there have been several workers who are approaching people, trying to be helpful and getting them on the bus. The buses out there, they're completely free. So just getting people to other forms of transportation and trying to get everyone exactly where they're trying to go this morning. But definitely a lot of anger, like we heard Anthony, a lot of frustration, and also a lot of people who are coming together and sharing those Ubers, which was nice to see this morning, people helping each other out. So hopefully that's also playing out at different BART stations across the bay this morning, Gianna.
Yeah, I know. And you could hear his frustration clearly, Veronica. And just, I think we all need to be mindful too. Those BART workers that are out there trying to help people navigate and give them options and stuff, they're doing their best too. So we all got to be a little patient this morning to sort of figure all of this out. And hopefully we'll get more information from BART soon. Veronica, thank you for that. I'm sure we'll check in with you in just a little bit. Okay, so as you this morning, joining me now on the phone is Leanne Larono, a customer service manager with Tri-Delta Transit. Leanne, thank you for joining us this morning. You know, I think our reporter touched on this point that a lot of people are super commuters, and the Tri-Delta Transit service serves a lot of those commuters coming out of areas, say, Pittsburgh and Antioch. What kind of things are you guys seeing this morning as far as volume on your buses?
We are seeing some volume on our buses, but we're trying to mostly take care of people that we find at BART that possibly were already there before the notifications went out.
And
so we're trying to assist them.
And I'm sure BART commuters are very appreciative to have this as an option. You know, as mutual aid happens between other transit agencies and BART this morning, getting people to, their destination, what is sort of the process? If you're traveling through some of these BART stations, do you take a Clipper card? How do people sort of navigate that who may have never used Tri-Delta Transit before?
Well, luckily, this morning, if we do find you at BART, already, we are waiving our fares. We are having riders ride free to wherever they need to go if they are stranded at a BART station. So, that obviously is a huge help to them so that they don't need to know how to navigate the fares. But in general, we always have reasonable fares, and Clipper has transfer free as well if you transfer within buses within 120 minutes. So even if we were doing fares, you still would have a way if you were using Clipper.
And Leanne, as the morning commute winds down just a little bit, a lot of people hopefully are figuring out how to get to their destinations. Do you anticipate at all, if this continues throughout the day, adding more buses, more options, maybe getting more of your buses out there or your transit options to commuters later on?
Well, luckily, we just did a total system redesign. So a lot of our main feeder routes go a lot more often, within 15 to 30 minutes, as opposed to an hour or longer. So we feel like that's going to take care of the capacity that will probably happen throughout the day.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Leanne Larono from Tri-Delta Transit. We appreciate it, and I'm sure lots of people appreciate it as well. I want to show you a traffic map really quick right now, can kind of give you an overview of what people are facing. It is Friday. We don't typically see these kind of delays on a Friday, but if you're hopping on the roadways, it's quite busy out there. So if that's your alternate instead of BART this morning, expect busy ride on 80, 880, as well as parts of 101. And of course, the morning commute is starting to wind down as we inch a little closer to that 9 o'clock hour. Stick with alternates in the meantime. We will continue to follow this breaking news story throughout the morning. We'll be right back. And good morning. We are following breaking news this morning as we take a live look here. This is at the Walnut Creek BART station. You are looking at passengers kind of stranded this morning. There is no BART service due to computer equipment issues. This started early this morning, and people are arriving to BART this morning trying to figure out what to do next. This has been an issue, again, throughout the morning. We are still waiting to hear an update as to when things will get back on track. Of course, they'll have to do some test trains first to make sure things are running smoothly before they let passengers on. So as soon as we learn that information, we will let you know. In the meantime, we're going to help you kind of navigate all of this. We are definitely hearing of other transit agencies helping with mutual aid and hopping in there. Due to that system-wide computer issue affecting BART, Muni was concerned that they would be impacted this morning because some of their operators could have been delayed heading to work this morning to drive the buses and trains through the city. So right now we're seeing, for the most part, things are on time other than BART. We're also checking the freeways too to give you an idea of how busy it is. As we wind down the morning commute, it is still stacked on many of our freeways, especially out of the East Bay and parts of the South Bay too. as a lot of people use the roadways instead, and our super commuters really feeling it out of parts of Highway 4 and 680 along Walnut Creek. We're also seeing surge pricing on Uber this morning. So we just checked and getting this information. If you're coming from the 19th Street BART station in Oakland to San Francisco's Embarcadero station, it's nearly $60. And Samtrans posting this to X this morning. If you need to get to SFO this morning, they've got options. Samtrans route EPX and 292 can get you there from Salesforce Transit Center in San Francisco. We will continue to bring you live updates throughout the morning.
From CBS News Bay Area, this is The Morning.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Gianna Franco. Breaking news for your morning commute. Another major disruption for BART. BART posting this very early this morning on X, saying that computer equipment problems preventing the start of service this morning and to seek alternate routes. I am just getting word from our producer right now that there are some systems coming back online right now. So it sounds like they are getting some of these trains up and rolling just within the last couple of minutes there. So that is breaking and new information right now. And I'm sure a relief to many commuters who have been either stuck at some of these BART stations or trying to scramble alternate transportation. So again, BART system-wide shutdown due to computer issues. And we are just learning that they are getting limited service, some trains back on track right now. So we'll get more information on that. But Veronica Macias, our reporter, has been out there all morning at the Walnut Creek BART station. And Veronica, you have talked to a lot of passengers just frustrated at not getting information in time before they got to the BART stations this morning and then scrambling to figure out what to do next.
There's so much anticipation, anxiety right now with people who are waiting to hop on a train, hoping to get to work, hoping to get to wherever it is that they were headed on this Friday morning. I just spoke with the spokesperson for BART here, and she tells me, you know, there is some chatter of people who are hopping on trains over at the Concord station, East Bay. There are no trains that have been dispatched just yet. They are, however, starting things back up. We know that there was a computer equipment problem that didn't allow them, because of the upgrades overnight, to start the trains up this morning. There was no service, they realized, at about 4:30 a.m. But because of that, they now have to turn things on, and things are not exactly running for the trains just yet, but they are allowing people into the BART station area. So there may be the word of some trains running at the moment. They're not going just yet, but I am told that within an hour or so is what people are being told out here. They can expect for those trains to get back up and running. But a lot of frustration out here this morning with people who have been waiting for those trains to start up. There are the free buses who are taking people to their locations. There are the BART workers who are guiding people out here on where they should be going. A lot of people who decided to share the Uber rides this morning, and a lot of frustration because people tell us, you know, this happened back in May, and here we are again. People complaining about the fares that have been increasing with BART. And one woman earlier telling me, like, at the end of the day today, whether we want to or not, we're going to have to spend more money that we weren't planning on spending today. Take a listen to what one gentleman told me earlier this morning about his frustration with not having enough heads up with this service disruption.
I was trying to get into the office earlier today to get out of work and start the weekend. I live in Walnut Creek and came to the train station, and these ladies just mentioned that the computers are down, no ETA on when it'll be resolved, and suggested to go to Oakland and catch the ferry into the city. But my work, that just wouldn't be possible, so I'm gonna try to find another place to work from.
It's not my only options of transportation, so this is very frustrating. I guess there's nothing I can do.
We also heard from the BART official earlier this morning going on camera with us, telling us they understand the frustration. They understand that people need to depend on BART to get to work. The ripple effect this has on the employers who are waiting for those people to arrive. They say for the most part, BART is running on time. We'll get people to their destination. You can rely on us. But when we have moments like this, instances when our entire service is down, we understand that they need to rebuild that trust with commuters here in the Bay Area. But at the moment, scenes like this still playing out all across the Bay. People just waiting to see when those trains will be dispatched. It seems like the computers have been turned on, but no trains have left. People not hopping on just quite yet. Gianna.
Yeah, it's good news, though, that we're potentially hearing that some might be starting at other BART stations, and hopefully we'll see those trains rolling through Walnut Creek here temporarily. It's also a good sign that people are heading in to, closer to the platform, so that's a positive. Veronica, for the most part, are people looking for those alternates, or have you met anyone who's sort of just sitting there waiting it out in hopes of it getting back on track?
Yeah, for the most part, you have a crowd out here, Gianna, that is just sitting and waiting because they've been asking the BART workers who are here, should we wait? Should we find another way to get to work? You have Anthony here. Anthony, do you have time to join us? You have nothing to do right now. You can join us. Come over here. Tell me, you're just waiting. What did you ask any of the workers about the buses, and how come you've decided to sit and wait and not take one of those buses?
They suggested that I can maybe try a ride share, but I'm going into the city and I have my scooter here. I don't think that would fit into their car. I don't know what buses go into San Francisco. That's where I'm going. So they did advise that, but that doesn't work out for me. So I'm just here to wait until they open back up.
I know earlier you seemed to show a little bit of anger here because it seems like, that we receive an apology, but this is the second time this has happened to you. And an apology doesn't really cover for the day's worth of work that you've lost so far.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, what you just said and what I mentioned, BART isn't cheap. It's expensive. So they're expecting a lot from us, and they're giving us this bad service. I don't think it's a good trade-off at all.
So what's the message to BART this morning? People want to see changes.
Do better, BART. There's been a lot of issues with BART, and this is just one of them. But I can list a lot of things that I've been unhappy with about BART, and they've been failing us, and I've been frustrated for a while with BART.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Anthony, and hopefully you do get to work here soon, eventually. Thank you. So yeah, you have a lot of people like Anthony this morning who are saying, hey, BART, we need to see some changes here. And we heard from Herschel earlier saying we need those push notifications because for them, that makes all the difference. It could change the way their morning gets started. Obviously, on this Friday morning, a lot of people just upset, wishing things could have been a little different for them. They wanted to start the weekend earlier, and no one ever wants to start off this way with having to go to plan B right away or sitting and waiting like Anthony here, Gianna.
I know, Veronica, what a way to start the weekend. Thank you for that. And we'll check in with you in just a little bit as we get more information, and hearing from, people waiting, passengers, is so important because, you hear the frustrations. So hopefully they'll get some good news. Okay, well, speaking to that point, you saw Anthony there with his scooter. A lot of people use BART who have bikes and so forth, and they're going to have to find other means of transportation. There is mutual aid happening with many other transit agencies. SFMTA put this out a little earlier this morning. They posted this on X. This is an update. At this time, impacts to Muni service are minimal. We will provide updates on any impacted routes as we receive them. We're talking about Muni right now. Mutual aid is being provided between Embarcadero and Balboa Park via that Muni Metro service. So if you are just tuning in, BART is down system-wide. We're getting word that some trains may be getting back on track just within the last few minutes. There are mutual aid opportunities for connecting buses for areas all throughout the Bay Area, Muni specifically for San Francisco. So I want to jump to our maps right now and kind of give you a perspective of what people have been dealing with. It is a Friday. It is the tail end of the morning commute, and it's 9:08 right now. And look at how busy these freeways are. If you're looking at this map, you see all that red there. That indicates speeds under 45 miles per hour, under that in some spots. And that's because a lot of people probably hopped in their car to navigate these delays, something they don't typically do. So we don't see this type of volume on a Friday. This would be more what we would expect for a Monday, a Tuesday, or a Wednesday, but certainly still quite busy. Westbound 80 out of Richmond, you've got all those brake lights along 880, and there's a handful of crashes out there. Nothing major as far as traffic alerts, but just a lot more cars out there, a lot more bumper to bumper traffic. I want to show you another map right now, just to kind of make sure you understand and know what your options are. If you are just tuning in, because of this BART system-wide shutdown, you can use buses. Again, if you want to hop on the freeways, a lot of those delays are concentrated to our East Bay routes. as well as out of the South Bay. Rideshare, we're hearing, is an opportunity as well, or an option. A lot of people pulling together to save a little bit there. We've seen some pretty expensive rideshare rides, potential surge pricing. East Bay routes into the city tend to be quite expensive anyway. And other transit agencies, of course, like County Connection and also Tri-Delta Transit. The ferry systems are also something that people are using a lot this morning. We spoke to a representative from SF Bay Ferry saying that they did see more passengers. In fact, our Lynn is up early with us this morning, joining us live from the ferry building in San Francisco right now, which has become an alternate for commuters trying to get to their destinations. And I don't get to see you very often, The last time I think you and I chatted was in this very circumstance when there was a system-wide shutdown at BART and you were once again at the ferry building talking to people.
Yeah, that was about 3, 4 months ago, back in May, at the same spot, talking about this problem here. And perfect timing. That's right there is the ferry boat coming in from Richmond. It just docked, and as you can see, the passengers are getting off right now as we speak. So the timing here couldn't be more better. So yeah, we have ferries coming in from Alameda, Oakland, Richmond, the one behind me, and of course Vallejo. So a lot of folks saying that they're using the ferry. I just talked to a woman who's lining up to try to get on there and head over to Richmond to see her son. She was like, "This is the first time I'm riding the ferry to go see my son in Richmond because BART is down once again." And she was like, "It's just frustrating," but that's what a lot of passengers are trying to find, those alternatives. This being a pretty reliable alternative, given that folks are just riding across the ferry through the bay here, Bay Waters. So these folks are coming in as we speak. Let me just ask him really quickly if how packed was it. Hey, sir, very quickly, I'm KPIX 5 News. Guys, how busy was the ferry? Was it a little more busy than normal today? Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so these folks are saying a little more busy, and you can see too. Typically on a Friday, not as many people are coming out of these gates. But let's walk over here very quickly here, and you can kind of see. I'm on my selfie stick as we're just kind of walking right here. Again, this is a ferry just coming in from Richmond right now. How busy was it? Pretty busy compared to. It was so busy compared to a normal Friday, right? And 3 times the amount that you would normally see. Now, would you have taken BART if BART was working? For sure, I see. Was it pretty frustrating, or was it okay for you to dealing with this Friday traffic? Gotcha. Thank you very much being on KPIX this morning. Yeah, so this passenger is saying very busy, 3 times more than a normal ferry ride that he would take. And he says typically he would take BART, but because of the shutdown this morning, a lot of these folks are just coming into San Francisco, whether it's for work, whether it's for going to school, or just visiting folks. Just a very different way to start Friday morning. By the way, let's walk down there. So this is Richmond. Again, still a lot of people getting off. Hard to see, but there's the Bay Bridge behind me, the Oakland San Francisco Bay Bridge. And I took a look at the upper deck earlier. Looking at it now, you can see some high-profile vehicles on the bridge, and it's quite slow. So a lot of traffic getting on the bridge as well and driving across to San Francisco. But boy, yeah, we're talking about perhaps over 100 people, if not more, just because they've docked for the past, 2-3 minutes, and it's just a stream of people coming out, and even some folks with luggage. Can you see that? Folks, are you guys going to SFO? No. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, these folks are not going to SFO, but I have heard that folks trying to get to the airport, trying to find different ways to get to the airport. For now, live here at the ferry building, I'll send it back to you, Gianna.
Yeah, I mean, what a steady stream of people coming through there. Really surprising for a Friday morning, too. Did anyone mention at all? I know they just started coming out. I don't know if you can ask anyone how long it took them to get from, like, say, a Walnut Creek or an East Bay BART station into San Francisco, if it took a little longer?
Yeah, I'm going to check in with them really quickly. Sorry, miss, I'm with Channel 5 News. How long was the ferry ride, just very quickly? About 20 minutes. Was the wait pretty long to get onto the ferry? No, wasn't too bad. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so she is saying about 20 minutes to go from Richmond to San Francisco here. And the wait, she says, it wasn't too bad. But boy, I'm glad they were able to fit a lot of people in there because as you can see, there are a lot of folks and they are still actually departing from the ferry right now. Looks like they just finished having all the passengers getting off. So Sounds like any moment now they can let people get on. But yeah, it is a very busy ferry building this morning.
It is. Dot, thank you for that live report. And we're seeing so many people with their scooters and bikes, which we know a lot of people use those and hop on BART. So having the ferry as an option is probably very helpful. Good to hear that it's on time. All right, Dal, we'll probably check in with you in just a little bit to see how the next round of folks coming out of there have dealt with the morning commute. But of course, we're getting reactions from all over social media on how people are sort of navigating, and you're hearing their frustrations. You know, we heard from people live at Walnut Creek BART station with Veronica earlier, and this is a reaction on X this morning from J-Rap, who says, terrible and unreliable. Just last Friday night before Labor Day weekend, there was a fire on the Transbay tube. 3 hours is what it took him to get home. How about this on X this morning? Jose says, wow, always something. I can hear that frustration there. And then Transit Bro posted this earlier today. Didn't this happen already this year? Maybe it's time to replace the computer. Something to think about. Well, certainly something they're working on, obviously, which sounds like why we had this disruption this morning. So we are starting to see those surge prices also on Uber. We just checked, and getting this information from the 19th Street BART station in Oakland over to San Francisco's Embarcadero station, nearly $60. Look at that. So, and if you want to get, different rides there too, you can definitely see that the surge pricing is definitely adding up this morning for people heading and using rideshare. So showing another perspective, the Bay Area, it'll cost you $95 to go from the 19th Street Oakland BART station to SFO this morning. And, Veronica mentioning earlier, a lot of people trying to find groups and people at these BART stations to maybe join together, save a little money on some of these trips and share an Uber heading to their destination this morning. So you're seeing community help community, but you're also hearing a lot of frustration from a lot of people really not planning for this or just an unexpected disruption to their day. I want to talk about some other transit agencies offering mutual aid. So Samtrans travels along the peninsula. So this will be very important for anyone maybe commuting out of the South Bay to Caltrain. If you hop on Samtrans for some of those options, if you want to get to Caltrain, maybe you're coming out of San Francisco and you typically take BART. Those are options too. So there are some things here. They are leaving from the Salesforce Transit Center in San Francisco. You can catch some Samtrans buses there, 292 connection to the Caltrain station in Millbrae. So just check your favorite mapping tool for those best connections. But Samtrans also offering mutual aid and is an option for people. Definitely going to help anyone who use BART along the peninsula. So will Caltrain. Caltrain is on time this morning. So here's the good news. We're not hearing of any delays really, with the exception of some minor delays we heard earlier with Muni in San Francisco. But most transit agencies have just kind of hopped in and offered that mutual aid to commuters and to help BART out this morning as well. So we want to go back out live now to Veronica Macias, who has been out there all morning to at the BART station, Walnut Creek. Veronica, you have Alicia Trust with you this morning, hopefully getting us an update of what's happening.
I do. Yes, and some good news, I understand. No trains have been dispatched as of now, but things will be changing. We're looking a lot better this morning. Thank you, Alicia, for joining us.
Absolutely. So in the next 15 minutes, we'll be able to restore limited East Bay service. So East Bay service only. What that means is there'll be trains from Antioch to 12th Street, Oakland, from Berkeley in Richmond area to San Jose, and for the Blue Line, Dublin to MacArthur. So you can get in between the East Bay for right now. That's a great sign. You can at least get as far as you can, and hopefully by then we'll get that Transbay service up and San Francisco service up. But right now, just East Bay only, and the trains haven't yet been dispatched, but very close to doing so.
Okay, yeah, because over in the East Bay, we've been seeing people go onto the platforms already.
Yes, some station agents are opening those grill gates, letting people come up to the platform, but we want to stress that it's just limited service right now, but it's certainly much better than we were an hour ago.
Okay. Talk to me about a lot of people have been voicing concern with the service. What's your response? What's your message to people who depend on BART to get to work?
It's terrible when we're not able to get service going. Absolutely. It impacts the entire region. What was happening last night was a really important upgrade project that happens many nights of the week, and just something went wrong. And it's one of those critical pieces that we have to update it in order to keep our system safe and running and all the communication working properly. We'll figure out exactly what that trigger was that made it so we couldn't open service. And we understand reliability is extremely important. It's our brand.
Okay, thank you for your time this morning, and good to know that people will be on their way soon. We appreciate your time. Thank you. So, yeah, this morning for hours, people have been waiting to hear that news. And it seems like right now, limited service will start in the next few minutes here over on the East Bay. But for a lot of people, they still find themselves in this situation, scenes that have been playing out all across the Bay Area. So many commuters that we have spoken to this morning who have been concerned about being late to work, just calling out for the remainder of the day, maybe working from home, scrambling to find other forms of transportation this morning. And of course, a lot of angry passengers this morning who were saying this is now the second time that has happened to us. Some people may be questioning whether or not they want to rely on BART when they have that flight to catch out of SFO. A lot of people concerned this morning about whether or not they were going to miss that flight. So this morning, it sounds like things are now going to be soon up and running here for people, but definitely a major headache for commuters who rely on BART in the Bay Area this morning. Gianna.
Yeah, Veronica, it certainly has been quite a morning for many people traveling this on this Friday, which is typically supposed to be a little easier than the rest of the week. Great job getting that update from Alicia Tross from BART this morning. We appreciate all your work this morning, Veronica. Thank you for that. And of course, we'll stay with us at KPIX.com and always streaming on CBS News Bay Area on our app. I'm Gianna Franco, and again, we'll continue bringing you the latest updates for any more changes with BART throughout the day.